And I'm going to show you a clip here that's going to shake you to your core from a Muslim in Texas who is in front of a large group of Muslims celebrating and mocking the governor of Texas. Don't mind the double chin. We got important things to talk about today. A lot of those things involve what happened this weekend and the reaction from both, the left and the right in the world. So as you guys know, if you haven't heard, if you're living in or under a rock or inside of a box, we attacked Iran. The coalition of the United States alongside Israel attacked Iran. And their supreme leader has been killed along with a lot of their generals. From what I understand, they even implemented a new supreme leader and he's already dead. So that's happening. And the people in Iran are rising up and trying to take their country back. And with that, Iranian refugees, Iranian exiles are celebrating across the globe. Across the globe. But that doesn't mean people aren't upset. The Democrats, specifically, radical left-wingers are very upset. They're Ilhan Omar, AOC, the like. They're saying that this is an illegal attack. It wasn't approved by Congress. This war wasn't approved by Congress. Thing is, they seem to forget about the War Powers Act. If you guys don't know what that is, go ahead and look it up. You'll be surprised. But I don't want to talk about that in particular. I want to talk about some common sense things. For instance, John Fetterman. You guys heard of John Fetterman. He's the Democrat, probably the only one on the left that has any common sense and supports a lot of Trump's policies, to include the strike on Iran and its leaders. Here's Fetterman talking about exactly that.
Where does this go now? You have a vote coming up on the president's war powers. How will you vote?
Well, I would really encourage everybody that are watching right now, look up and read the war powers resolution from 1973 and what that requires. What that requires is that provide 48 hours of notification, and President Trump had done that. And then that means after 60 days, then they have to withdraw those soldiers, or perhaps even for an extra 30-day extension. Neither of those things have been broken for that. There are no American boots on the ground. So that's why, Epic is now, that was absolutely not, it violates either one of that. And now people, they either don't understand that, or now what they're saying, things are just not true, that it wasn't illegal, or for that, they did not violate War Powers Resolution from 1973.
So you heard it there, right out of Fetterman's mouth, the War Powers Act. Trump hasn't violated anything. He has 60 days to pull the troops out. He can keep them there. But there are no troops on the ground. So technically, right? No troops on the ground. Now, there have been 3 casualties. There was an Iranian missile that hit a location where there were U.S. troops, and 3 U.S. troops were killed in the Middle East. So let's make sure our condolences and our prayers and our thoughts go out to them and those families, okay? When something like this happens, a lot of people, for some reason, expect there not to be casualties. We're talking about removing a radical Islamic regime that has essentially been at war with the United States and Israel for the better of 5 decades. They've supported terrorist groups for decades, funding, resources. And those terrorist groups have gone on to kill hundreds of American citizens and our allies and people who just wouldn't convert all across the globe for 5 decades. Scott Jennings has something to say about that. I want you to listen close, especially if you're one of those people on the fence about whether or not this was a right move or not. Watch.
It is going to have some impact on the economy of China, because that's where they get their oil, from Iran. And what we did in Venezuela, what we did in China, or what we did in Iran has as much to do with China, I think, as anything. I also want to say, may God rest the souls of those troops. But they died in a noble cause. And as Buddy said, 47 years, Americans are dead, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. I totally disagree with you about the threat not being imminent. I spoke to very senior administration officials yesterday. They believe that the Iranian regime was about to fire ballistic missiles, not at the United States, but into U.S. military bases and civilian targets. They were going to attack Israel. They are already attacking other Gulf states.
You can't make the case back then. Apparatus has assessed that there was not an imminent threat.
I know. My guess is I've spoken to higher-ranking officials than you. On the uranium enrichment, the United States offered them free, unlimited, lifetime, civilian-grade nuclear fuel. They said no. They had given us the runaround about their intentions on enriching uranium for military purposes. How long do you want to wait? Death to America? Death to Israel? How long do you want to wait? We waited 47 years. We have crossed every red line. Every president says they want to do something about it. Only Donald Trump had the guts to do it. You said you're not shedding any tears for the regime, but you appear just not to like Donald Trump enough to be mad about it. This is a good thing.
He's the guy who's going to bring peace and not start wars.
Yeah, and he is bringing peace. Iran has been at war with us for 47 years. The central pillar of the regime is death to America. The other pillar is death to Israel, who is our ally. They have been at war with us. They have been killing American personnel and American soldiers for nearly 5 decades. This is not an attempt to start a war. This is an attempt to prevent further conflict. This is an attempt to get the largest state sponsor of terror off the field. This is an attempt to stabilize the Middle East. I don't view this, Ashley, as starting a war as much as ending the people who are the preeminent terror threat in the world.
Scott Jennings put it to you clean and clear right there. Iran has been at war, the radical regime has been at war with us, Israel, and essentially the world for the better of 5 decades. And while doing that, they've had their people in shackles, essentially. Okay, their people weren't free. You know, I constantly see liberals on the streets here right now, just this weekend, protesting against what happened in Iran this weekend, against the Trump administration, yet again. But they were silent for the last 2 months while the radical regime was murdering, slaughtering tens of thousands of their own people, innocent protesters in the streets, because they want to be free. I hear the numbers are up to 40 to 50,000 people were killed in the streets. Some of them were left there dying, not even dead yet, and were tossed into body bags to suffocate to death. That's the regime that the left wing seems to want to defend. But why? I mean, I can tell you why. I think we all know why. If you have any sense, you know why. It's because they hate Trump. They hate Trump more than what's actually morally correct. They don't care about integrity. They don't care about what's right. They don't actually care about anybody. If Trump does it, they don't like it. That's the truth. But I want to go ahead and show you a take from Patrick Bet-David. All right. He's an Iranian who fled as a kid after the regime got taken over. I want you to hear his take and what he has to say about what's happening this weekend.
I mean, this is a very special day today, and I'll tell you why. Because since 1979, when these guys took over, Iran's been chaotic for people that live there. 81% of the people there do not want the IRGC. I left Iran July 15th of 89. June 3rd of 89, Khomeini died. Not killed, died. I was in school at Gulbenkian. We're in the streets. I'm trying to find my parents. It was absolutely insane. Eventually, we did. 6 weeks later, we escaped, went to Germany. Fast forward from 89 till today. Now, the Supreme Leader Khamenei being taken out. This isn't like taking out the president or general of the army or even the prime minister or even the Pope. You took out the number 2 to God in their religion. You took out the supreme leader. This is a statement to everybody. Brett Baer put out a post about the fact that they took out 40 of their leaders. Think about what that conversation looks like right now to say, listen, guys, you have a couple options. You can either work with us or you're next. Does anybody want his job? Does anybody want to be the supreme leader next? Because the target's on you. What do you guys want to do? So that conversation, I believe, is taking place right now. But the world just got safer today because of all the leaders that were taken on. And God willing, if the mission is done, the world's going to be a safer place.
How do the Iranian people feel about this?
Ecstatic, to say the least. They're dancing, they're parading, they're crying, they're emotional. You see the celebration amongst women. Women feel free that finally this cloud that they have over them, that they can't do anything and don't put this on and don't put that on. I mean, this is a massive, massive moment for them. They've been waiting for this for 47 years. And you have to realize for 47 years, we've had a lot of different presidents. We've had a lot of different Iranian leaders that have tried to make this happen. But the one thing that's very different is the president. President made this happen. The Iranian people, I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward in the Iranian community, a lot of the people that couldn't stand the president because they were liberals or, oh my God, he saw this, he saw that. Watch how many Iranians who were Democrats could overnight become Republicans saying, I support this man here.
He's not wrong. Not even a little bit. Iranians are celebrating across the globe right now, everywhere. In blue cities, deep blue cities, they're out there chanting Trump's name. Meanwhile, counter-protesters are showing up trying to tell them, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You weren't really oppressed. Your people weren't really oppressed. Trump is the dictator, not that you're, that supreme leader that, Trump just killed. No, not him. Really? Look, if you don't believe me, I'll just show you.
The people of Iran will forever be grateful. We are so happy to taste freedom after 47 years. Thank you, Trump. Javi Shah. What do you think happened next? Next, the people are going to take over the country and reclaim their land. We're going to bring the Shah back. Long live the king.
I don't know. I just imagine AOC and Ilhan Omar just. I'm sorry. I just imagine they're having a freaking stroke right now somewhere in a bathroom in the Capitol building. They hate this, okay? All right, Mitch McConnell, I mean, he's already gone. He's already down bad right now. But, all these, people that hate Trump, because there's people on the right wing, believe it or not, that hate Trump right now, and they're shooting their shots as well. But specifically, the left-wing media, the Mamdanis, the AOCs, the Jasmine Crockett's, the Ilhan Omars, they are losing their mind. And the thing is, the media doesn't want you to see this. And we have proof. There was a CBS reporter, all right, that got told by his superior live on television, hey, don't focus on this. Don't highlight this, the support for what Trump did in Iran. There's a video. Let me show you. So I don't know if you could hear because the volume is a little low, but someone off camera hands them a phone. There's a text message that they got from their superiors. He's like, what is this? The guy off camera says, hey, our boss doesn't want you to show this. And at first he says, all right. He's like, I'm going to do it anyway. That's what he said. Now, the rumor is that this reporter was fired, and this is from CBS, I believe. Let me double check here. CBS Austin reporter. Why doesn't the media want you to see this? I miss the days, if there was ever a day, when the media just reported the facts, right? There was no left-wing, right-wing bias, no propaganda. There was just, here are the facts. When I was a journalist in the Marine Corps, and maybe that's why it's different, when I was a Marine and I was a combat correspondent, we were taught to not be biased. We were taught, hey, you just report the facts and you let the people decide based on the facts. You give them everything they need to formulate an educated opinion on the subject. But a lot of the media today just doesn't do that. And I'm starting to question if they ever, I don't think they ever did, now that I think about it. I think that was just something I learned as a combat correspondent in the Marine Corps. But with that said, this man did the right thing. He stood his ground, and I guarantee you he's not going to have a hard time finding a job elsewhere. Once they realize, if he was truly fired for this, once these companies realize, oh, what, you were fired for reporting on this? Doing your job? Oh, come on over, Fox News will probably take him, News Nation. There's a lot of, center news agencies out there that, criticize both sides a little bit more equally. I could see him going over there, too. Whatever the case is, what he did here was right. But the question I ask you guys is, why does the liberal media, the left-wing media, not want you to see this? And again, I have to repeat the fact that, they made all this noise And regardless of what you think about the Israel and Palestine conflict, the left-wing media made a lot of noise about that. You know, they called it a genocide. I'm not going to argue that here, but they made a lot of noise about that. But when there's 70,000 Nigerian Christians being slaughtered in Africa, not a peep. When 40 to 50,000 Iranian citizens are slaughtered in their streets, not a peep. And I have to ask you that question. This is a question you need to answer for yourself. Step outside your echo chamber for a minute. If you're one of those people who are superbly anti-Trump, ask yourself why. Is it because of something you were told? Did you verify any of these facts? Like, truly verify it? For instance, I keep seeing people saying that, oh, Trump eats babies. When you say that, I know instantly you didn't even look at the Epstein files. You probably looked at a headline. Maybe you heard your favorite content creator say something dumb like that, and you're just running with it. Listen, I don't believe you're that stupid, okay? I don't believe you're that stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean verify the evidence, the sources, the facts. Those things matter. But I think the problem is, when it comes to the left wing, they've ignored facts for a very long time. What is a woman? Why is that even a conversation on the left? It boggles my mind. But before I get off on a tangent, I want to move on to what Tommy Robinson from the UK, he's now in America, what he has to say about Mamdani. Watch.
First Muslim mayor in our city's history. And this year as the first Jummah that I have attended in that new position.
Oh, the killing of the infidels by the sword. Would it be Islamophobic to say there's a problem right now in New York City?
You see what you need to do? He should be deported instantly. That imam should be deported instantly.
No.
And send a message to all of them, you're not going to tolerate this. Now, this is the point. I've been pretty surprised at how vocal and very confident they are in America. They're only 1%. We're 6%, they say. We're probably 12%. But look how confident they are at 1%. Look at Texas. They're planning for the future. They're planning to take Texas.
Yeah, Texas has a huge problem. The Dallas area is out of
They're planning to take
now.
it.
Yeah.
It's planned. They're planning to take it. 50 mosques in the last 2 years. They're planning for the future. And right now, look, not all Muslims are bad. I get that. But the peaceful Muslims are irrelevant. They're irrelevant in Syria. They're irrelevant in Afghanistan. They're irrelevant. They're not going to stop it. They're not going to save you. They're not going to save you. So you need to save yourself. And you cannot allow this to grow. There's 45 countries we can look at to learn from history. Islam has never, ever, ever, ever peacefully coexisted. They come in a small number. Once they get to a certain percent, they take over. Now, why does Britain or America or Europe think they're going to be the exception of this 1,400-year history? It's the same book. It's the same Islam. It's the same teachings. It's the same Islam that governs Sharia law or governs Saudi Arabia, these totalitarian states. It's the same Islam in America.
Now, when it comes to the topic of Islam and Muslims, it's a tough topic, right? It's a tough topic because there are good Muslims that don't want to take over. They don't want to instill Sharia law. But the problem is, and I always say this, the good Muslims, they're not saying anything. There's definitely a few prominent ones that stand up and they speak out against radical Islam and the Muslim Brotherhood and all that. But the problem is they're far and few in between. The ones that want to take over the West, they outnumber them. They outnumber them. And not only that, but the good Muslims, you know, they probably fear for their lives if they were to say anything against it. They put their lives in danger just as much as anybody else speaking out against it. But I agree with what Tommy said there. Tommy said after Mamdani went to that mosque where they were preaching death to the infidels, we should send a message. We should send a message to anybody, not just people of the Muslim faith, but across the board. If you're a foreigner in this country and you're talking about death to the infidels or death to America, right? And you hate this country so much, you should just automatically forfeit your citizenship. You should be deported. Mamdani should be deported because it's obvious based on his actions what and who he supports. Jesus always said, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, you can tell what someone's about based on their fruit, their actions, all right? Not what they say. What do they do? Okay? When Mamdani goes to a mosque where they're preaching death to the infidels and the non-believers, come on. Like, do I have to spell it out for you? And the weird thing is, man, the left wing is so supportive of this movement, and they have no idea. You know what happened when the left wing supported the radical Islamic regime in Iran and helped them take over? You know what happened? The radical Islamic regime murdered all those people. They got rid of them. They used them to take power, and then they got rid of them. What do you think would happen in the West, in Europe, in the United States? The left wing right now is, oh, you're Islamophobic if you criticize it. They're supportive. You see LGBT communities, I know, that are supporting Islam. You do realize they throw y'all off roofs, right, in Middle East. Like, they don't just cast you out. They kill you. You know, this whole Queers for Palestine movement, that whole thing. I truly don't understand what is going on in these people's minds when they support something that is obviously going to kill them if they ever take power. And Tommy Robinson's right. You know, America has a problem. Right now, it's only 1%, the population, right? But Texas, Dallas, Texas, is kind of crazy. They have, what is it, like dozens of mosques, hundreds of mosques, more and more opening up every year. And I'm going to show you a clip here that's going to shake you to your core from a Muslim in Texas who is in front of a large group of Muslims celebrating and mocking the governor of Texas. You don't believe me? Watch.
The election of somebody like Mamdani, it is a game changer. We need somebody like Mamdani to be the mayor of New York. And that is a victory for the ummah. I'm jumping the gun here, but this is one of the narrow-minded I need to break here. And if you don't understand this, then honestly, you need to rethink through your understanding of civilizational strength. Everybody has a role to play. Muftis have a role to play, and politicians have their role to play. Let everybody be active in their role. This is a strength of our community. And of our greatest strengths, like I said, the political freedoms we have. The guy tried, not once, not twice, 8 times to shut our project down. I don't want to go into all the details because of time. He failed miserably at every single level, and the project is still going full steam ahead. Do you understand what I'm saying here? The governor of one of the largest states of the world, Texas, everything's big in Texas, wanted to stop, and he tried, وَمَكَرُ وَمَكَرَ اللَّهِ. Multiple ways he tried. Alhamdulillah, that bill did not pass because of multiple reasons. Of them, we employed our lobbyists, money in the lobby. You have to do this reality. And yet here we are still debating, can I vote or not? Does voting shirk or haram or kufr? Wallahi, we are in one galaxy and the world is a different galaxy. Literally, it's just disconnected from reality. If we did not get involved, our masjid would have been shut down. Forget our project, right? These are some of the strengths. Very quickly, weaknesses. We have multiple weaknesses. Our biggest weakness is our percentage in this country. We are very disadvantaged. By the way, this is only in this country, because across the Western world, mashallah, tabarakallah, percentages are rising to the point of it's terrifying them. Sweden, 10% Muslim. Oslo, Norway, 10% Muslim. Oslo, of all places. Vienna, the Ottoman Turks tried 200 years, they couldn't do anything. Vienna is 10% Muslim, mashallah, tabarakallah. 10% Muslim. England, London, it is estimated 20%. I was in Australia a year and a half ago. Australia, Sydney, there are districts the size of maybe half of Austin that are 60% Muslim. Lakemba, go look it up. Lakemba in Sydney.
The crazy part about that clip is it should shake you to your core because they're not hiding their agenda. They're telling you. Clear as day. They're even mocking the governor of Texas because he tried to stop them from, you know, their projects in Texas. And if you haven't heard about those projects, you got to look it up. But essentially, they're trying to build a private Muslim-only city that taxes anybody that's not Muslim to move in or be close to the city. They want to instill Sharia law. It's crazy. And he even admit in that very clip, if you go back in the video and watch that clip, he admits, he's like, we had to play politics. We lobbied. We spent a lot of money to make sure that bill was not passed. So let me ask you this. Who's bought? Who's bought? Who's bought and paid for in Congress or in the local governments there in Texas? Someone got paid. Someone got paid because they lobbied against this bill. Money was exchanged somewhere. Some deals were made behind the scenes, under the table. And then that bill did not get passed. I want to show you a couple more things before we're done here in today's episode. I want to show you some Mad Libs. Mad Libs that are protesting what happened in Iran this weekend. I want to show you two clips specifically from that.
So all those who are waving Palestinian flags are now waving Iranian flags. Protesters who oppose the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran took to the streets of New York City. They seem to be in support of the Ayatollah and the Iranian or Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Our correspondent right now is out in the streets of New York. Leah Lando joins us from the protest. Good evening, Leah.
Yes, Leland, that was several hours ago. Dozens of people came here to Times Square to protest these strikes against Iran. They're calling them illegal. That protest lasting about an hour. Now, who was behind it? Well, it's a group called the People's Forum. If you've heard about that before, it's because you've heard us talk about them. They also are linked to other protests on college campuses, anti-ICE protests as well, and specifically a man named Neville Roy Singham, a former U.S. tech mogul who allegedly has close ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Again, that group that organized the protest, the People's Forum, allegedly funded by Neville Roy Singham and his wife. News Nation learned he is an American billionaire living in Shanghai. And back in January, we told you congressional investigators were looking into whether he was funding anti-ICE protests across the U.S. at the direction of the Chinese Communist Party. A September 2025 Ways and Means letter citing $20 million in funding from Singham and his wife to the People's Forum. Singham sold his consulting company in 2017 for just under $1 billion. The People's Forum protesters today calling the U.S. and Israel strikes on Iran an unprovoked, illegal bombing campaign, adding, quote, this was all on X that they posted this. They said this serves no one but a tiny elite in oil executives and is a continuation of genocide in Palestine and U.S.-Israeli aggressions through the region.
Now, I want to point something out there because there's a lot in that clip to take in. First of all, there's obviously people funding these protests. The protests only lasted an hour. But where do you think all those signs came from? Where do you think all these people came from? There's already evidence of people being paid to protest in upwards of $20 and $30 an hour. All right? So we already know that's happening. And obviously that billionaire there is part of it. And there's rumors that he's working for the Chinese Communist Party. Interesting stuff. But I want to point something else out. The thing I want to point out is the same people who are out there in the streets protesting, supporting the radical regime of Iran, are the same people calling Trump a dictator, a fascist Nazi. Do you see the problem here? They're in the streets with signs protesting. Let me point something out to you. No one's shooting them. No one's arresting them. No one's hurting them. You see? You know what happened to the Iranian people when they did the same thing against their radical regime? They were shot dead in the streets, chased to their homes, ordered to stay in their homes, and if they came out, they would be shot and killed. That is a dictatorship. I just don't understand. But in this next clip, there's this reporter, this journalist, independent journalist. I don't believe I know his name. We'll see if we can find it. But he interviews somebody at this protest. And I just want you to pay attention to her answers. Let's watch.
What brings you out here today?
Support. War, I'm against the war. I come from a war-torn country.
Yeah.
War happened in Yugoslavia when Yugoslavia fell apart. So I'm here to support humanity.
Yeah.
It's enough of killing children and innocent people, because whoever is in power, it's not they're going to be safe. But who's getting killed is innocent people.
Yeah. Would you say that you're supportive of the Iranian regime, or where exactly does your support lie?
My support, where it lies, is in humanity. We shouldn't be involved in, it's propaganda, basically, what Trump is doing, saying that, he's there to, like he's telling, now you can bring down the regime in Iran, which is...
And I've heard some folks say that those who are standing with humanity, a lot of people are messaging me saying, well, what about the 30,000 or up to 40,000 protesters that were killed in Iran?
But do you think that that's really true?
Well, Time Magazine, CNN, and a lot of mainstream media have reported on it, and they don't like to report on such things in general. Right. So if they reported on it, I would say, wow, even they reported on it.
Yeah.
So what do you think? You don't think it's true, though?
I really don't. Okay. I think that there
Have you seen some of the videos and pictures of the body bags?
I did see the body bags, but like I said, there's so many. In this day and age, it's like, what do you trust?
Okay.
What do you trust?
What exactly would be your vision of Iran? Would you like to just see them to continue to live under this dictator regime? Like, what would you like to see?
We're living under dictatorship.
We are?
We are.
Oh, shit. I didn't know.
Really?
No, I didn't. How are we living under a dictatorship?
You don't, if you got to think what you're going to put on, right now when you're talking to me, if you got to think how, if I'm able to say this, and I'm not going to be doxxed or banned or whatever, that is a form of dictatorship, like in Russia, like in
But you were
any other big country.
You were going to be doxxed by the United States government? Is that what you're saying?
I just might.
Bruh. How do you reach these people? That's like my life's mission. Okay, it's not my life's mission, but it's definitely a part of it. Okay, how do you reach people that believe this nonsense, that actually believe right now that Trump's a dictator and that they're under a dictatorship? She thinks that the government's going to dox her. No, the internet will dox you. The internet's the internet. That's the risk of participating on the internet. But to say that the government's going to do it? She kind of contradicts herself right there in that interview. She's holding a sign on the street with hundreds of other counter-protesters, speaking her mind, making herself known and heard. She's not in fear of her life or her freedom. She doesn't have to worry about getting killed for exercising her rights, but she thinks that she lives in a dictatorship. It's crazy because she's not the only person. Obviously, there's an entire extreme left wing that believes this. They believe it so much that they were willing to kill Charlie Kirk. The hypocrisy of that. A man exercising his right of freedom of speech. You didn't like what he had to say and you killed him. May he rest in peace. But to top off this episode, I wanted to talk about some good news. The good news is the Christian revival that is happening right now across the world, but also in a place that a lot of people did not suspect, Iran. Watch.
In Iran in 2023, there was 75,000 mosques in Iran. In 2023, 50,000 mosques shut down. 50,000 mosques shut down in 2023 because people are not going.
Whoa.
The fastest growing church in the world right now is not in America. The fastest growing church is in Iran under Islamic dictatorship. I was just preaching in Indonesia. Indonesia's like 90% Muslim. I was preaching in Indonesia, Brandon, and as I'm preaching, there's Muslim ladies at the back in hijabs repenting of their sin and turning to Jesus. As I'm preaching, I'm realizing God is moving. Indonesia sees over 100,000 Muslims come to Christ every single year. Egypt, although they're persecuting Christians, Muslims are coming to Jesus. In Gaza, there was a report that came out. A report came out in 2023 where 200 Gazans saw visions, exactly what you were just saying, saw visions and dreams of Jesus Christ the same night. What people need to understand, Jesus is not just a fairy tale 2,000 years ago. He's still alive and moving on the earth today. People are still seeing Jesus. Millions of people are coming to Christ. God is moving all around the world. And the question is, are you going to jump on this? Are you going to follow Jesus Christ and get your life right with God? Or are you just going to keep living life until you hear that trumpet and it's going to be too late? And that's why, by the way, the devil always says tomorrow. Everyone listening, you know, they're listening, they're like, yeah, I'll get my life right with God next year. I'll get my life, you know, you always hear these voices in your mind. It's like, I'll stop getting drunk next year. I'll stop cheating my wife next week. And all of a sudden, you always hear tomorrow.
You always hear tomorrow. That's what the devil wants you to think. Jesus could come at any moment. And for those of you who don't believe, listen, for those of you who are here just for the politics and not the God part of this channel, hey, stick around. You might be surprised at what you find out. Because I was a lifelong atheist, essentially. I used to be the guy that talked Christians or tried to talk Christians out of their faith. For 37 years, I was a non-believer until I had an encounter with Christ myself. Now people that knew me my whole life don't even recognize me. So when I say that this is a huge deal, and as you heard this gentleman say here, this is from Officer Tatum's show. Let me see what this gentleman's name is. So if you guys want to watch the whole interview, this is on the Officer Tatum's YouTube channel. And his name, the guy being interviewed, is Martin Cedra, okay? So go check them out, check out the whole interview. But it's huge news to know that the fastest growing Christian church is in Iran currently. And it was happening during the supreme leader's radical control over the country, okay? There's also a fast growing Christian church in communist China, and they're trying to shut that down. Underground churches all across China, okay? There's definitely a revival happening. And there's a reason for it. It's because good and evil really exists. The spiritual realm really exists. It does. The thing is, a lot of people won't ever interact with the spiritual realm when they're not walking with Christ. And let me explain what I mean by that. Something I realized. The devil will show himself to you the moment you start aligning your life with Christ. If you don't believe in Christ and you're not walking with Christ, he's going to leave you alone. You're right where he wants you. You may think you're living this great life and whatever it is. But his goal is to separate you from God. If you already separated yourself, he doesn't need to mess with you. But the moment you start to walk with Christ, suddenly he's going to show himself to you. So this is God in Politics, where we talk about God, we talk about politics. I'm Noel. Love you guys. Appreciate you for being here for, I don't know what to call this yet, but we'll figure it out. If you like this episode, make sure you comment below, like, and let me know if you want another one. Much love.